Yeah. Let's see. All right. Good morning. We are holding line number 17 on page 2. Well, page 56, but page 2 in your booklet. So it's smack in the middle of the page. The third to last word on the line, page 17. The word ach. So let's just get our bearings over here. We're going to learn in a couple of days. The Jewish people, their souls on a soul level, are one thing at their core. We call this that we are all connected to Adam Harishon, the first man. And just like, and we give the analogy of the body, that just like the body, every part of the body is interconnected with each other. The hand and the leg and the stomach and the brain and the heart, they're not all distinct parts that have nothing to do with each other. They're all one unified, fancy word. I'm trying to remember what the word fancy word is. Symbiosis or something. I don't think that's the real word, but something like that. Anyway, but this idea that every part of the body, the energy in every part of the body is unified, is really brought out in the general life force that exists, which is expressed in the brain. We explain this is why when someone hits their hand doesn't get hurt. It's their head that senses the pain. Saying the hand gets hurt, but the pain is felt by the mind. Fine. So on line number 17. For the last 3 words. But after the soul of Adam was split up into many different, word here is used as roots, many different parts. And each one of those roots was divided up into branches and many sparks in distinct individual bodies. So in other words, the souls of the Jewish people exist on a collective level and as one unified whole as the soul of Adam Harishon. But this soul splits up into different, so to speak, parts afterwards, so that each Jewish soul can exist. But it's not that this soul is split up into parts. Here's the thing: it's hard to explain this on a physical level. It's not like a piece of cake cut into pieces. This is a spiritual thing. But we're using the word parts just for conversation's sake. The soul of Adam is split up into parts and pieces, and is not simply divided up into each Jew. Rather, they're split up into, let's call them big pieces. And each of those big pieces is divided up subsequently into tinier and tinier and tinier, broken down to little tiny pieces. And the tiniest piece, that becomes an individual soul for an individual Jew in whatever particular generation they might live in. Okay, so now we run into a situation called pirud. You know what pirud means? Pirud means separation. So as these souls were all existing in Adam, they were all unified. Not that they got along together, rather they were one solid whole, one piece, one thing. But now you have this new thing that's introduced into these souls, which is called division, pirud. Now what? So on line number 19, the second word, Harei zeh kemoshel ha'ivorim shenifredu zemizeh. V'liyikav lehayad mako sheberegel hamufredes mimenu chayetze. So the idea that these souls are split up into many distinct pieces, so to speak, is like the way that a body has many distinct parts which technically have nothing to do with each other. So for example, the example that's given here, if you're walking, you stub your toe on something, your hand won't hurt. Last I checked. Is that correct? You stub your toe, your hand won't hurt. If you hit your hand, your stomach won't start hurting. If you bop your head into something, your foot won't start hurting. Whatever limb it is that got the blow, that's what will feel the pain. But the other limbs of the body won't feel that pain. Even when we said earlier that the mind, the brain feels the pain, what that means is that the brain is aware of the pain, and it translates that blow into ouch. But the physical brain doesn't start hurting when you hit your foot into something. You don't start developing a headache when you get a stomach ache. I mean, some people do, but that's for a different reason. Right, so this is like the distinct, unique, each individual limb. That although they're all physically connected, they're not really connected on a deeper level to the extent that if you hit one limb, the other limb starts hurting. Therefore, the Jewish souls that are split up into each individual Jew, they are like that. That, so to speak, if one Jew is going through something, another Jew won't feel it. Even though it's a little odd to say that because they are all essentially one piece. But here's the kicker. Here's where the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisroel, loving a fellow Jew, comes out. Which is that although we are split up into we're split up into different people, different souls, the truest reality is that we are all one soul. And just because it doesn't look like that on the surface, doesn't mean it's not true. Therefore, if we look past the surface, we can tap into this deepest core of ourselves where we're not, there's me, there's you, there's them, there's that. We're interconnected. We're all one unified whole. Let's see that inside. Page line 20. Amnam, however, hapirud hazeh hurak mitzad haguf. This separation is only from the body. It's the body which what makes up each individual Jew appear as something separate from each other. The body, the physical body. Aval hanefesh loy nifreda be'emes. But the soul has not become separated. The kula masimais, they all stick together, all fit together, they're all connected. Ukemoshel hayad sheyesh ba mivridi haregel v'ha'ayin. V'chem beregel min hayad chulu. V'chayotze yesh lo ke'ev otzum beruch niyusa mi ke'ev ha'ayin kan yizkalel b'moshel. This helps us understand something it says in Tanya. In the Tanya from the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Chabad movement, Tanya is arguably one of the most important books written in recent history, and arguably one of the most important books written in history. To use the words of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, was a great saint who lived around the times of the Alter Rebbe. I think it was him who said it. He received an edition of the Tanya after it was published or before it was officially published from the Alter Rebbe to have him look it over. And Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, he went through it, and his response was out of awe and excitement and surprise. He said, "How did he fit such a great God into such a small book? How do you fit such a big God into such a small book?" So in Tanya, Perek Lamed Beis, chapter 32, which the word Lamed Beis, which is Hebrew for 32, also spells the word Lev, which is heart, which is, it's been said that this is the heart of the entire Tanya. And this is the chapter that deals exclusively with Ahavas Yisroel. What does it say over there? It says that the way to Ahavas Yisroel, to love a fellow Jew, is by making the body, one's body, secondary, and the soul the main thing. Naturally, we put an extreme focus on our body. We have to make sure we eat the right foods. We're concerned about what foods we like. We like to enjoy the taste of our foods. We have to exercise. With what's good for me. I'm lazy. I'm bored. I'm this. I'm that. That's the body. The soul. If we're honest with ourselves, we don't really pay too much attention to the soul and what's important for the soul. Making sure the soul gets what it needs to eat. Torah study. Make sure the soul is fully clothed. Mitzvah observance. And taking care of the soul in that way, but not just taking care of this, also taking care of the soul, but mainly taking care of the soul and doing what you need for your body as a necessity. But your main focus is the soul. Says the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, it's impossible. It's impossible to have true love of a fellow Jew if the main focus in your life is your own body, your bodily needs, and your soul is secondary. You can't. Whereas those who make their soul ikr, they make their soul the main thing, v'gufam tafel, and their body is secondary, they have access to experience true love of a fellow Jew. Based on what we were saying, now we can understand this. Because the body is what makes us feel distinct and unique from each other and separate, that's the main word. Makes us feel separate from each other. I'm he, you're you. We'll get along, hopefully, But if we were on a soul level, if our main focus was our soul, that was our main focus in life. I want to clarify and reiterate that focusing mainly on your soul does not mean focusing only on your soul. Focusing only on your soul is not healthy. You also have to take care of your body. But the soul is much more important than the body, but don't forget to take care of your body as well. That's why it's main and secondary, not only and not important. That's not how we look at it. But when your soul is the main thing and your main focus and your core and what you care about the most, that's what really matters. Automatically, you're sensitive to the connectedness that exists between you and the other Jew. Line number 22. V'lachein Omar ha'arizal kol protei haviduyim shechoto echad Yisroel shaharehu kov eisei ever sheboy mushreshes nefesh eisei Yisroel magia ke'ev gam le'ever ha'elyon shemushresh nefesh ha'arizal befrat mitzad mekernish meisenu moach ha'av v'chachmos yisbarech ha'kelos kulo margish ke'ev kol ramach heverorim. Okay. This helps us understand the statement that we made in the beginning of the Mimer about the Arizal, the Holy Arizal. That he would say the confession prayers, Tachnun, even though, why would he say that? I forgot the analogy we gave, but the Arizal saying the confession prayers makes zero sense. Man was a holy tzaddik of the highest caliber. Him and sin, they never met each other. He was not, it wasn't applicable to him. Why on earth was he saying the confession prayers? He was confessing all the different sins that you might have done, which is part of the repentance process. Why on earth is he saying this? Because of this entire discussion. This discussion helps us understand that. Because the Jewish souls are interconnected, and at their core, they're truly one entity. Somebody like the Arizal is sensitive to that reality because his soul is more important than his body to him. So he's sensitive to that. Automatically, if a Jew might have done something that was not in line with Torah, not in line with Hashem's will, it causes a blemish, it causes spiritual damage. And even if the Jew might not feel that pain, might not feel that damage, the Arizal, he was sensitive to it. He was sensitive to the other Jew, and he was sensitive to the damage that was caused. It hurt him. So he said the confession prayers, so to speak, on behalf of this person, not that person now is absolved and he doesn't have to do anything. No. Rather, he felt that pain, so he felt he had to do something about that pain. Okay, we'll pause here. Wish everybody good Shabbos. I want to remind you that, God willing, we will have a minyan this Shabbos. So if you're watching this, happen to be on Friday afternoon, what's today, July 26th, and you're in Erie and you say, oh, I would love to daven with a minyan tomorrow. Well, come on over. You know where we are, and we're hoping to see you. Have a good Shabbos.